What does a Miami Dolphins victory on Thursday night look like against the Bills? We're trying to put together a plan to get this monkey off the Dolphins back here today on Locked On Dolphins.
You are Locked On Dolphins, your daily Miami Dolphins podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
All right, Miami, welcome to another episode of Locked On Dolphins. It's your team every day here on the Locked On Network. I'm your host, Kyle Krabs, a lifelong Miami Dolphins fan, host of Locked On Dolphins, co-host of Locked On NFL Scouting. You can find our shows on YouTube or wherever you listen to your favorite podcast. Tip of the cap to our everydayers because it is your team every day here on the Locked On Network. We don't just say it, we live it. Today's episode of Locked On Dolphins is brought to you by Prize Picks. Go to prizepicks.com/LockedOnNFL and use code in all lowercase LockedOnNFL to win $50 instantly when you play $5. The Dolphins playing tonight. Quick turnaround for the show. Reminder, you'll get a post-game show from me. You'll also get on the podcast feed a postcast, which is a live stream that happens on Locked On Sports Miami with Grease. And he will give you knee-jerk reactions as well. But I will have my own post-game show tonight reacting to the Dolphins game against Buffalo in week 2. Doesn't get a lot bigger for the Dolphins from a narratives perspective than this football game. Buffalo has had all the success in the world against the Dolphins in the last 5 years. The quarterback dynamics with Josh Allen, he's had rousing success against the Dolphins. And as tired as I am of talking about it, I would hope every single player that's in the locker room is tired of hearing about it. And it is time for the Dolphins to take their next crack at doing something about it. And I think you can look on both sides of the ball. There's some matchups that I think are going to be pivotal for the Dolphins in this game. Some things that what can the Dolphins do? I think when the Dolphins have the football, that's where we'll start. Raheem Mostert is out. Mike McDaniel confirmed that yesterday. Devon Achane sounds like he's going to work out before the game to test. He's already posted on Instagram, on his Instagram page, a hype sizzle graphic for the game. He practiced yesterday. He wasn't in a red non-contact jersey. It sounded like he moved well through independent periods. There's a lot of optimism that Devon Achane is going to go for the Dolphins, and that's huge because that gives you the other element to speed. I think the two speed guys that you have in Tyreek Hill and Jalen Waddle is outstanding. But if you can have a third element to create horizontal and vertical stretch on every play, that those three guys are packaged out there together, that allows you the optimum amount of stress that you can put on opposing teams. Now, without Raheem Mostert, that's a tough break. But I think about Jeff Wilson. I think about the success that the Dolphins had at the end of the game against Jacksonville, against a talented front, running downhill, running power concepts, running at you, challenging you between the tackles. If Raheem Mostert's going to be out, and it's going to be Jeff Wilson, and it's going to be Jalen Wright, and I think Jalen Wright can handle that workload and have overlap with Jeff Wilson, knowing full well that the Dolphins are playing a defense in Buffalo that plays effectively a 4-2-5 base. They don't match personnel. They don't have a bunch of different personnel groupings out there. They might rotate guys in and out, but they're going to play with 5 DBs on the field. They're going to play in nickel, and their nickel is out for the game. So that puts a lot of pressure on Cam Lewis as the nickel. And I think back to the game, the second game in 2022, and I mentioned this at the end of the crossover, but I wanted to extrapolate on it here a little bit. The Dolphins in the first game against Buffalo that season in 2022, the game that they ironically won, they did not win time of possession. They did not possess the ball. They did not make it a shorter game. They forced Buffalo to drive the length of the field and not make mistakes and have methodical drives, and locked up in the red zone a number of times. And Miami was able to hit some chunk plays, but then also was able to, or was not able, I should say, to, when they got the ball back after the turnover on downs inside their own 5-yard line, they couldn't run the ball to save their life, right? And I know that's kind of the narrative around the Dolphins and being able to run the ball, and they can't do it. They showed you they can run in a variety of different ways. I think you'll have probably some more perimeter success running the ball against Buffalo than you would have had against Jacksonville. Jacksonville, their safeties are big, long, prototype, physical guys. Cisco's a striker. Antonio Johnson is a striker. They got Darnell Savage, who's a first-round pick, who can hit. Then you got these big physical guys on the edge. Buffalo's edge guys don't quite have the same mass and power in the run game. And Von Miller and Greg Rousseau, who's a big-bodied guy, a lot of length. But if you're working with angles and speed to the edge, I think the Jacksonville guys were a bit of a tougher draw. Now they have more speed down or on the second level with Terrell Bernard than what Jacksonville has. But nevertheless, now you're looking at Cam Lewis is the nickel. You're looking at DeMar Hamlin and Taylor Rapp trying to run from depth. They're not dynamic players, right? And that's why I think you think back to when the Dolphins played Buffalo the second time last year, they found ways to create explosive plays with speed on the edge. And then you go back to the second game they played in 2022, and they found a lot of different ways with formations and shifts and motions to put Taron Johnson as the compromised player in the core, in the box. Can you do some of that with Cam Lewis? Because that should be an even greater advantage to your offensive game plan. And if you can do that and you can live in that world and you can live in heavier personnel groupings, especially if you want to rotate and you want to keep Jalen Waddle and Tyreek Hill fresh and you don't want to run them a ton and you don't want them playing 100% of the snaps, I'm cool with that. But do that with the recipe being we're not going to play a bunch of 11 personnel and run Braxton Berrios out here for 30 snaps against Buffalo. Don't do that. Come out here and have it be Julian Hill and have it be Alec Ingold and have it be Devon Achane along with Jeff Wilson or along with Jalen Wright. Durham Smythe as a blocker, I'm cool with. Let those guys be the players, create the condensed formations, and then you can use your speed to get on the edge. And then if you want to have your receivers that are your 2-star receivers to be a piece of that puzzle to run vertically, if they're going to cheat down, then you can do that. And if you don't want to do that, then you can come downhill and you should be able to challenge. They're not going to play with a nose tackle. But Daquan Jones and Ed Oliver are very good football players. But if you can work doubles on them because you've got doubles on every player on the line of scrimmage because you got 2 tight ends in the game, that's what they did with some success down the stretch against Jacksonville. You should be able to do the same because I think Eric Armstead and Ed Oliver are probably comparable players from a spectrum of how good you are as an interior defensive lineman. Now they're different. Ed's a little bit more quick twitched. But if you're double teaming a guy and he's between the two of you, execute up front, execute your double team, you should get even more movement. Daquan Jones is a good player, but if you're double teaming him, or if you're back blocking him because you're pulling in you're creating some angles, but if you're just going to run the zone, you better be darn well sure that you got winning combos on the edge. I think there's more favorable combos to run on the edge against Buffalo than there were against Jacksonville. So I think you're going to have a little bit more of a run menu, but I want to attack. And I know Cam Lewis had a lot of tackles against Arizona. With all due respect, it's Arizona. I want to see you do it against us. Because I look at Jacksonville and what Miami was able to do it towards the end of the game against Jacksonville. And I think that's more of a close 1-for-1 than your backup nickel going against Arizona and getting tested in the ways that Miami is capable of if that's how they choose to build their offensive game plan. And I do think this is a game you're going to want to try to have some level of control of the clock. Now, granted, Miami ended up winning time of possession against Jacksonville because of how the end game sequence played. And Jacksonville only played, I think, 7-8 offensive snaps in the fourth quarter. Can you play that game for a 60-minute game? Can we not make this 35-33? Can we make this a little bit more limited possession type thing? You can borrow some pieces of inspiration for the win that you had at home against Buffalo in week 2 in 2020. I guess, what was it? Week 3, 2022? Force them to go the length of the field. They're not, I don't expect they're going to be a big fireworks offense this year. Now, Josh Allen's still absolutely capable of hitting home runs. There's a whole other conversation about what you do against him. We'll get into that next. But from the offensive perspective, now I think you have an opportunity to get out on the edges. And if they're going to overcommit and stuff the box to play into edges, let's run downhill at them. Let's put more gaps out there. Let's run counters. Let's run power. Let's run lead. You showed the ability to do it. Now build out on top of that, and then you can build out different looks off of those run packages that have really not been a core staple of what you do. So is that the big wrinkle this year? Is there more of a diversification in your run game and the concepts that you run? We're all waiting to find out what it is, other than just Devon Achane catching passes. We'll see what Thursday gives us offensively. Now, defensive matchups to attack and look at. That's next here on Locked On Dolphins. Make sure that you stick with us. If you're getting ready for the game tonight and you want to make sure you get your favorite pregame meal, but life's not cooperating, you can make sure that you pick up your order with DoorDash. DoorDash, with football finally back, it means it's time to order your favorite game day foods, snacks, drinks on DoorDash without missing a play. If you want to make sure that you get a hold of whatever your favorite game day pregame, halftime, post-game meal is, you can use promo code LOCKEDFALL24 for 50% off up to a $10 value when you spend $15 or more on your first order. This is a limited time offer. Terms do apply. Promo is not valid for orders containing alcohol. DoorDash, your door to game day greatness, your door to more. Download the DoorDash app now to order your game day favorites. Must be 21 or older to drink alcohol. Drink responsibly. Alcohol available only in select markets. When you head out the door, I don't know about you, but my check is usually wallet, phone, keys, hair, good. You look good, you play good. A big subscriber of that. And of course, with the Dolphins wear the throwbacks, that's more relevant than ever. But if you want to feel good when you step out the front door and you're experiencing hair loss, maybe you're not feeling as confident or looking as good as you feel you can. It's time to get that confidence back and restore your hair with Hims. Hims provides access to a large range of hair loss treatments that work, all from the comfort of your couch. Hims makes treating hair loss simple with doctor-trusted treatment options and clinically proven ingredients like finasteride and minoxidil that can regrow hair in as little as 3 to 6 months. They offer personalized, chewable, oral, spray, serum treatment options, so you find what works best for you. The process is simple and 100% online. Just answer a few questions, and a medical provider will determine if treatment is right for you. If prescribed, your treatment was sent directly to your door. Hims has hundreds of thousands of trusted subscribers, so you feel like you're losing a part of yourself in your hair loss. You can get that back with Hims and get your confidence back. Start your free online visit today at hims.com/lockedonnfl. That's HIMS.com/lockedonnfl for your personalized hair loss treatment options. hims.com/lockedonnfl. Results may vary based on studies of topical and oral minoxidil prescription products that require an online consultation with healthcare provider who will determine if a prescription is appropriate. Restrictions apply. See website for full details and important safety information. I'm getting the auctioneer voice down. We joked about it the other week, but it's coming. We're back in regular season mode. I can feel it. What I can also feel is the bind that the superstar quarterback that you have to account for in Josh Allen is going to put you in. And nobody knows it better than the Dolphins with Josh. Josh made a lot of plays happen with his legs against Arizona. Went back and we watched all the plays in which Arizona pressured Josh Allen. Arizona chose to live on the edge a little bit, and I think that's the thing that you're going to have to do. You're going to have to call some uncomfortable coverages, and you're going to have to try to disrupt the timing, and then you're going to have to be really disciplined after that happens to prevent big plays. So what does that look like? You're probably going to have to play some cover one, right? One safety on the roof to help clean up any vertical stuff, but it's going to be a guy that's got to have some range. So that's probably going to be Javon Holland in those cases. And you're probably going to run some 5-man pressures. You're going to want to try to get a free runner, ideally not from depth. You run from depth against Josh, he's going to have too much space. He's going to put a move on that guy in the pocket or outside the pocket. You're not going to make the tackle. He's going to get outside the pocket. And if you're playing man coverage, then he's going to run for 25 yards. And if you're playing zone coverage, you're going to get sucked up and then he's going to throw the ball right behind right past your goal. So don't blitz from depth. If you're going to pressure, I think you need to pressure with the intent of showing pressure. Play games with the center. I thought that A-gap integrity, particularly on the right side of the offensive line, there was some opportunities for Arizona where they kind of stressed you with Osiris Torrance playing the right guard spot and Connor McGovern at center. Those guys really struggled individually with certain elements of the game. Torrance was called for 3 penalties in the game. And I thought Connor McGovern got turned around on more than one occasion with where I'm stepping and helping and somebody expecting me to be there or not be there. And then you're getting free runners through the A-gap, or he's dropping off to go help somewhere else. And then the guard on his other side, which is David Edwards, doesn't have the angle to pick up the block. So playing some man coverage and saying, look, we got Jalen Ramsey, we got Kendall Fuller, we got Kader Kohu, who is at his best in man coverage. You got safeties that can cover, Javon Holland. You got Marcus May. You got Jordan Poyer, who I think is probably best to be a second-level defender in this game specifically. Unless you're going to play true too-high zone and have him read and process Josh's eyes because he feels like he has a beat on some of Josh's tells from practicing against him every year for all the years that Josh has been in the league. And if that's the case and you want to try to do that, okay. But I would try to play matchups, and I would try to play cover one, which is one man, so man free. I would try to bring 5-man pressures, and you have to rush the upfield shoulder of Josh Allen. Because if you rush the midline or if you rush the back half shoulder against Josh, he's going to step up. You're not strong enough to pull him down, and then he's going to get into his exit ramps off the outside the pocket. This is the kind of quarterback that you want to have to force to go backwards. Now, he has the arm strength to do it, and he's still going to have the athleticism to get outside the pocket more often than not. But give yourself a chance, and don't rush him on the midline, and don't rush him on the backfield shoulder. Arizona could have 3 more sacks on Josh Allen if they rushed him with integrity and understood the angle that I'm coming in on is too steep to the center to the goalpost that we're playing against. And Josh is just going to slide. He's going to put a hezzy move on me and slide and step up. And then he's up and out. And then he breaks contain. And that's where plays break down. And that's where he's most dangerous. So rush the upfield shoulder, please. If we see a free runner that goes scorching by him because they don't break down and Josh just kind of slides in the pocket and then it turns into an explosive play, I'm going to pull my hair out. And I worked real hard with my own hair loss treatment plan that we were talking about just a few minutes ago to get my darn hair back. I'll pull it out if we watch that. So as I think about the rest of Buffalo and them offensively, they are a little bit of an unknown because of Joe Brady, but there's a bigger proof of concept than there was against Ryan Nielsen's defense with Jacksonville last week. Brady had the offense the last half of the year. And I think what is very prevalent is they want to win on first down and run the football on first down. They like to run the ball. They did not take a lot of shots down the field in this game. Josh could have had one late in the game with them up trying to kill the game and put it out of reach. And he threw a check down underneath to Ty Johnson and the ball was dropped and it was incomplete. And they had a runner against man coverage thrown up the mailbox and Josh didn't see him. The only shot they did take was an extended play within the pocket where Josh kind of double hitches up, tries to throw a big post to Marquez Valdes-Scantling, and he misses the throw because his formation or his foundation's off because he's moving as he throws the football. The big mystery for this game is Josh Allen and his hand. He has an injured left hand. It happened when he landed on his hand during a scramble for a touchdown against Budda Baker late in the game. You've seen pictures and videos of him at practice. He's got his middle finger and his ring finger are taped together. He's wearing a glove. They got to tape his hand. It's some kind of hand injury. Can you force Josh when he runs? Can you attack the throwing hand to force him to put the ball in the other hand? If that's the case, can you then punch the ball out? Can you create turnovers that way? Is there some way in which you can plan how you're going to try to load rushes to force him into more compromising situations with that left hand? Just know if they get up in shotgun and they run jet motion from right to left, he's probably not going to catch the ball and hand it off, because that would require him with his left hand, with the injury that he has, to extend the ball for the exchange. I don't know what that looks like. That's up to much smarter people than me, the people that actually do this and work in the building, to figure out. But that's the X factor for me. And that's what I'm looking for. Can they find ways to make that be a variable in the game? And if they do, I think that boosts your chances. I also don't know how much quarterback run game we're going to get. They like to run QB power and pull the tackle around and get Josh downhill. Are you going to get a lot of that? If you're going to get a lot of that, can you put big hits on him? That's up to David Long, Jordan Brooks, Javon Holland, Jordan Poyer, whoever your nickel is. That's up to those guys to get the hits if they're going to choose to run him and hopefully make him feel uncomfortable so that he can be just off down the stretch on a handful of plays that may be big plays in the game, provided you score enough points. Don't envy it. Don't envy it at all. The Dolphins, of course, are at home. I have some final thoughts. We're going to get into that next here on this episode of Locked On Dolphins as we prep for week 2 against Buffalo tonight. Stick with us. You've heard us talk a lot about FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. Right now, we have something a little different for you. Now through September 22nd, so you get about a week and a half. All FanDuel customers can bet $5 and get a free 3-week trial of NFL Sunday Ticket from YouTube and YouTube TV. Then with the YouTube TV base plan, you'll be able to watch every regular season Sunday afternoon out-of-market game, which is great for week 2 because the Dolphins play tonight. So whatever you want to watch on Sunday will be available to you. The Dolphins won't be on your TV. All you need is a Google account and a current form of payment, and you can cancel at any time. And if that's not enough, be sure to check out FanDuel's Profit Boost in the app and use it for FanDuel's double your winnings for all of Sunday, September 15th. Pre-game moneyline bets. Profit Boost will be live starting today. View your account page now to learn more about your boost. Visit FanDuel.com to download America's #1 sportsbook. I wish it wasn't quite as lopsided between these two teams in recent history, because that I would sit here and I would point to short week at home, extra prep, early season for extra wrinkles for Dolphins, injury to Josh Allen's non-throwing hand, injury to Matt Milano, injury to Taron Johnson, no Stephon Diggs, Florida humidity. If not now, a weeknight game. If not now, win. If not now, win. And I want to believe, because the Dolphins, they gutted that defensive depth chart. Christian Wilkins is gone. Jerome Baker is gone. Xavier Howard is gone. And those were some of the faces of the last iteration of the Dolphins defense that has kind of been the core and staple players for the Josh Allen terror tour over the Dolphins. And in their place are very different players like Kendall Fuller, very different skill set. I think he and Jalen Ramsey can combine to have very contrasting strengths in matching up and trying to match personnel if you're going to try to play man coverage and match personnel against Buffalo. Calais Campbell versus Christian Wilkins. I'm not going to sit here and say that you won't miss Christian Wilkins tonight. And the thing that Christian seemingly did better than anything against Josh was get under his skin. I don't know that you need to do that. I would rather you just beat him and win the game. But you felt the Calais Campbell presence early on. The Calais Campbell presence was early in the run game. And that's a player that can be drawing assignments against Osiris Torrance. I think that's the potential a savvy rep opportunity. Osiris Torrance kind of kicked Christian Wilkins' butt the first time they played. Now, Wilkins got him back the second time they played, but if Wilkins can have that kind of exchange across 2 games with Osiris Torrance, can that be a matchup that Calais Campbell and his size and his length and occupying throwing windows, even if he's not getting home, because I don't expect him to get in a phone booth and ISO and tackle Josh Allen, but can the length in the pocket, around the pocket, impact the quarterback? You should be able to turn him free. And then with Jerome Baker versus Jordan Brooks, we didn't really get into a lot of that with the defensive plan and how to rush Josh Allen. But there's a height, weight, speed element with Jordan Brooks that did not exist with Jerome Baker. Jordan Brooks is a bigger player, and he's a faster player than Jerome Baker. So if you're going to mug those guys up and you're going to turn somebody loose, and you're going to drop somebody out, can he take shallow and kind of sit in the middle of the field? I don't want to say serve as a spy, but be an underneath hole defender who then can convert into a pursuit player against Josh before he gets outside contain. But you still have coverage responsibilities if the back releases that is not putting that player in a 1-2 bind. I want to believe this is the game that it happens. But they need to prove it. They need to go out and win the football game. And I don't care what it looks like. If you tell me that the Dolphins take care of business and they beat the Bills at home to move to 2-0 and then have a week and a half rest before you go play Seattle, and then you're home against Tennessee, and then you're playing against New England, and then you have your bye, it will be celebrated accordingly. It will not be a small accomplishment because of all of the narratives around the football team. Can't beat good teams. Can't beat the Bills. And those things are said for reasons, right? Because that's the path that you've taken to get to this point in time. And I hope this is a time for us to change that narrative. But it's up to them tonight to play inspired in the way that they're capable of and not start slow the way that they did against Jacksonville. We'll see what happens. I'm Kyle Krabs. You can keep it locked in right here on Locked On Dolphins. It is your team every day. I will be back for a post-game show tonight after the game. Grease will have the postcast on Locked On Sports Miami. That postcast will also show up in the Locked On Dolphins YouTube feed, so don't panic if you see a podcast. It's not for me. It's the postcast. We'll have all your coverage for the Dolphins after their Week 2 contest against Buffalo tonight here on the Locked On Network. It is your team every day. Talk to you all again soon, and go Fins.